Jack, grow beyond. Who am I talking about? Samantha Brown, of course, CEO of Jack. 10 years ago, she didn't even know what personal development was or why she needed it. Now she owns Australia's biggest and longest standing personal development education company, Jack. Jack runs events both online and live in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth, giving access to world-class educators, teaching people how they can be the best versions of themselves, personally and professionally.
Welcome, Samantha, to LinkedIn Heroes. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So, you've accomplished a lot in what seems to be a very short time frame in your career. Did you always know you were going to be an entrepreneur, or when did that journey start for you?
I think so, yeah. And I don't think you know it until, hindsight's a beautiful thing, obviously. I don't think for me, I didn't really know it in the moment. I wasn't like, right, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But interesting things happen in your life where, I dropped out of uni 3 times. I'm the youngest of 5. They all have at least, 2 degrees up their sleeve. And I tried uni 3 times, and it wasn't a case of me not wanting to learn. It was me thinking I could learn quicker on the job. I wanted to go out there and get my hands on the tools, so I became quite impatient quite early. So I think little things like that.
What did you study at uni? Do you mind me asking?
Well, it was all a Bachelor of Business, but I tried 3 different universities with different majors, thinking it must be the uni, it must be the major, I'm disengaged. And each time I got offered a full-time job, 3 or 4 months into my uni degree where I was working part-time, and each time I was like, stuff uni, let's go work full-time, I can learn so much more there. And so I think little things like that made me realise that I wanted to get in the workforce, and also that I wanted to maybe go on a different path than some.
Sure. And given that you have accomplished so much in such a short time frame, what are one of the key attributes or habits that you've picked up along the way that maybe some other people don't find it is so easy to grasp, that's attributed to your success?
That one's easy actually to answer. I've always backed myself. And it sounds like such a simple thing to say, but I always say backability, which is not a word, but it should be. And it's having that absolute knowing that you can do something, and you can still be scared, and you can still have no understanding or knowledge of the how. But I just think if you can back yourself, and I know that through all the cliffs I jumped off and deep ends I jumped in, no matter how scared I was, it was just a total belief that I could back myself and do it. And I think that's something that really does hold a lot of people back. They've got ideas, but it's, call it fear or call it doubt, but it's having that true ability to back yourself.
And where do you think that came from?
I have no idea. I think, everything sort of stems from your childhood apparently, right? So I have no idea. We were definitely brought up in an environment where we knew that if we wanted to achieve something, we had to go out and get it. There was definitely not going to be any silver platter of support around us. It was, you want that, you go get it, and you go get it on your own. And I think that you quickly learn that, okay, if I'm going to do this, I don't need to rely on approval or support from parents or partners or colleagues or whatever it might be. I've actually just got to rely on me.
Yeah.
And if I can back myself, then you can keep jumping off those cliffs.
I guess along the way, there has to have been, I know there's probably been a lot of challenges, but there's probably been a couple that stood out. Is there one that you can think of that maybe you want to share with us that where you had to overcome some obstacles and how you did that and what you learned along the way? You're
right, there's been hundreds, personally and professionally, obviously. There's 2 that probably stand out the most professionally. Well, I suppose they're both integrated, it's all one thing really. And that was when I started the business. So I took over an existing 13-year-old business and bought it out. So there was first the backability of, I'm going to buy this business and I'm going to be able to do this, which was, that's a huge cliff to jump off, obviously. But the challenge that there, quickly came afterwards was, how the hell am I going to pay for this? So the financial burden of, I have to find the money somehow, because it's one thing to back yourself, but then you've got to come up with the resources to back yourself. So finding the money and being quite creative in that sense, And then obviously the challenge of I now have this huge debt that I have to back myself so much to pay that off. It sort of encompasses everything we're talking about, but a huge challenge and a huge weight where you're like, shit, can I do this? Obviously. And simultaneously, I suppose, links to the second challenge, which is, as I mentioned, it was a existing 13-year-old company, right, that I took over. So the biggest challenge there was, are they going to like me, relate to me? Am I going to be able to serve them better than they had been served for 13 successful years? And we rebranded. So we thought, well, a good way to also make our mark was to, a company going into its teen years, it's time to rebrand, rename, take on a new journey. So a massive challenge was, can I grab this huge community, 100,000 people that have followed this company for 13 years, can I grab them, engage them, build a relationship with them, and then introduce them to a new brand and a new name and let them walk forward with us? And that was hugely challenging and still is, because people love consistency and they love to be in their comfort zone of same, and the same thing relates, I think, when they're have a relationship with a company and a brand and a name. People love being stagnant, and there's a good metaphor with life, obviously. We were asking them to get outside of their comfort zone, come with us on this new journey, new owner, new way of doing things, new brand, and they did. And so it was hugely paid off and rewarding, but hugely challenging.
Yeah. But you make it seem so natural when I see you at these events, and you seem to carry it all in your stride, and you're like, there's one thing taking over a company, but to bring in a new brand and, a completely new look, I mean, it takes a lot of leadership qualities. Can you tell us where the name Jack comes from?
Oh, I get this so often. And what I actually get more of, before I give you the answer, what I get more of is, people come up to me at events and they're like, oh my gosh, I figured it out. I know why you renamed it to Jack. And they'll give you this great story, which is awesome. And I almost want to borrow it half the time. But I've heard the funniest, strangest things as well, which has been actually half the fun. But occasionally someone gets it right. We wanted something that people could relate to. And obviously a company name, especially sort of the more corporate and sterile you get, the less relatable it is to people. So we wanted to put a name there so that people can relate to Jack as a person and as a mentor and as a guide. And I really think a name can do that better, obviously, than anything else. And the reason we decided on the name Jack is through the awesome fairy tale, Jack and the Beanstalk. Yes. So many life metaphors come from that nursery rhyme. If you go back and read it again, and that that fable, but there's someone that took a chance, backed himself, didn't know what, climbed up something, grew, didn't know what was going to be at the end.
And Jack's all about growth, personal growth, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about in the industry or in your business at the moment?
Possibilities. I know it sounds bizarre, but possibilities. So, we are a highly creative team that are always thinking about really, big scale things.
Sure.
We'd love to go obviously to America next year as well, which would be awesome for us. We've got a lot of American speakers that come here, as you know, so to be able to give the opportunity to our Australian speakers to teach over there and do a cross collaboration. Yeah. But the possibilities, and we're just in this massive collaboration phase at the moment, collaborating with other aligned brands and partners to be able to grow well beyond the industry. I think personal development is such a niche little space that a lot of people don't really know what it is, or they read a couple of books and go, oh, is that motivation? And you're like, no, I think the 70s did an interesting thing for personal development in regards to attaching hype and motivation to personal development, where, our real, I suppose what makes us tick is how do we make that really real and tangible and fun and appealing to people to go out there and want to learn. And so the possibilities and excitement around creating cool events is...
Which brings me to the most important question of the day. If you could choose any superpower, what would it be?
I meet people every day, obviously, at our events, hundreds of people at a time. I hear everyone's stories. And the number one thing that I hear about people not achieving what they want to achieve or being who they want to be is that they're in their own way. And it comes back to, if we're going to link it back to the first question, it comes back to them backing themselves. And I know it sounds crazy, but if I could instill in the hundreds and thousands of people we meet every single month at events who aren't totally 100% fulfilled in their life every day, if I could instill that, real backability in them, and they get out of their own way and realize this is one life and they can totally do it, I would do that. I would do that to anybody that came near me.
Samantha, it's been an absolute honour to have you on the show. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing for Australian events and personal development.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you next week.